Hello and welcome everyone. This is the Budget Show with Business Standard and I'm Kanishka Gupta. I'm joined by our in-house expert Sanjeev Mukherjee, Business Standard's Agriculture Editor, and Shreya Jay, Business Standard's Deputy Energy Infra Editor. Now in this show, we decode the latest budget stories and provide insights about what is happening on the ground, things beyond headlines. In the previous two episodes, we have covered how the budget 2024 will be different from the previous budgets by the Modi government, and will the budget 2024 bring any relief for taxpayers? Now, in this episode, we'll focus on agriculture and energy, two very important sectors of the Indian economy. In case you missed it, there is a recent report by Moody's ratings agency which suggests that India's water crisis could disrupt India's agriculture production. Now, agriculture sector is already vulnerable. Sanjeev, we know that. So, do you think the upcoming budget will address the risk faced by the Indian farmers?
First of all, thank you, Kanishka, for inviting me for this show. Regarding your question on whether agriculture the forthcoming budget will address the risks associated with agriculture from changing climate, I think budget usually does not do that, but they should do it. Ideally, the risks are so grave and so severe for Indian agriculture from various climate vagaries, climate disturbances, that budget should address those questions. If you see very recently, only yesterday only, there is a survey which has come out which shows that 50% of crops, 50% of farmers growing paddy and rice over the last 5 years faced a 50% loss to their production, to their actual output because of various different climate disturbances like unseasonal rains, prolonged summer, prolonged winter, heat waves, etc., etc. Now, does the budget, or how will the budget address this? There are multiple ways in which it could be addressing. One is that increasing the expenditure or the allocation for research and development. Through research and development, you bring out climate resistant seeds, climate resistant agronomic practices, climate resistance fertilizers, or agriculture inputs, which develops a ecosystem which can hedge the risk that agriculture faces from such climate this thing, which is one part of the story. So the research and development budget of agriculture is around 9,500 10,000 crore. What many experts who met the finance minister also recently, which we have also reported, is that was a common consensus among all of them, is that you have to increase the risk, the investment on agriculture R&D from this 10,000 crore. You might not double it in 1 year, but you should gradually increase it to almost 25,000 crore of the total budget. Unless you do that, you won't be able to face the climate risks that the countries facing, agriculture faces. Secondly, you also should increase your investment in irrigation. You should increase your investment in organic manures, fertilizers. You should increase your investment in crops or varieties which are resistant to climate change. These are some of the ways in which you can address it.
Okay, the water crisis will also impact India's power generation, Shreya. So, what is in for the green sector?
Very rightly pointed out. Thank you for the question. Yes, water remains a serious concern for all across the sector. Sanjeev pointed out very comprehensively how it impacts the agriculture sector. India's energy sector, which is mostly driven by coal-based power generation, depends heavily on water, and this has been pointed out as a major risk by several reports, including the recent report that you mentioned. There has been an increased focus by the current government in the last 10 years, which has come back to power, on green energy. There has been a significant growth as well in terms of numbers. There have been megawatts of growth in solar generation, wind power generation. The country is also looking to invest into pumped hydro storage, battery storage, etc. So yes, there is a gradual shift that is happening where this country is trying to bring down its usage of fossil fuel, and at the same time increase its supply of green energy. This depends, the growth in green energy, however, would heavily depend on the SOPs that the government would offer, because green energy is costly. We import most of our solar panels that are used here. We continue to import lithium and other critical minerals. We continue to import batteries. So the sector is looking at push from the government for giving more incentives to domestic manufacturing of green energy equipments, and also other incentives in terms of tax incentives, tax breaks, land acquisitions, etc., so that the domestic sector, the domestic green energy sector, could grow further.
Okay, back to the agriculture. We have a very dynamic minister, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, for the agriculture and rural development. Do you see his imprint in the budget, and will the budget address the rural distress? I know you spoke to agriculture economist Ashok Gulati. Share some insights, please.
So, what Mr. Gulati's basic prognosis and also what his suggestion for Mr. Chauhan is that he has to make a transition, he has to make a synergy between the interest of the consumers and the interest of the farmers. So, what is happening now is that the major focus is on protecting the interest of the consumer. The interest of the consumer is being protected through all sorts of export curbs, cheap imports of agriculture produce. What is happening is that you're artificially pulling down the price of the commodity, which is in turn hitting the farmers, and he is not able to realize his right price. Now this has to change, and this can be changed by someone as dynamic, as forceful, as powerful, and someone who has come with a huge baggage. Mr. Chauhan's track record in agriculture in Madhya Pradesh is exemplary. In from 2003 to 2023, in that 10 years period or 20 years period, agriculture growth in Madhya Pradesh was more than 6.5%. It mirrored the overall GDP growth of the state, which is very seldom happened in any other state. So this is a baggage that he comes with. He has done remarkable work in improving irrigation facilities in the state. He has done remarkable work in improving procurement in the state. He has done remarkable work in improving access to inputs in the state for farmers. All this he now needs to put into a national perspective. This is all the more important because the recent electoral results of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party showed that of the 63 to 65 seats that they have lost, most of them have come from rural India, which shows that rural India is not in a very good shape, which this budget should urgently, seriously, and very strongly answer.
Okay, what about energy sector, Shreya? What are the key priorities that the industry expert want to be on finance minister's radar this time?
I think the energy sector wants clarity on a lot of things. We have been talking about energy transition, as I just mentioned, but in terms of a long-term planning on how would this India's energy basket look like, what kind of incentives can green energy sector get, what is the long-term forecast when it talks about our coal production, our coal supply, our coal consumption, and also our oil production, our import bill. We continue to be dependent for our oil and gas needs. We are importing from Russia, we are importing from Middle East, and this is a huge import bill. It's a huge fiscal pressure. So I think a long-term plan is needed in that, not in terms of reducing our dependency on import, but overall reducing our dependency on fossil fuel. Obviously, tax breaks is something that is required. The sector is expecting on that front. And in the recent years, admirably so, a lot of new green energy sectors have come in. We are talking about electric mobility, we're talking about green hydrogen and other such green fuels. Sanjeev and I have written a lot about how biofuels are up and coming segment where variety of agriculture produce are used for producing biofuel, and they would be running our cars one day, or maybe our planes as well. But these new sectors require some sort of push from the government. The intention has been there. The sector is waiting for incentive.
On the note of incentives, let's talk about PLI schemes. In the 2023 budget, Finance Minister talked about popularizing millet-based food, both internationally and nationally. So, and now we are hearing reports about, government may propose a PLI scheme for millet-based foods. What is your take?
Now, this brings us to the first question that you ask, is that what the budget can do for making agriculture climate resistant. This is where the budget will have to play a very important role. If you have a PLI scheme for millet-based food, millets are by nature climate resistant crop. How they climate resistant? They require very less water. Their water consumption is far, far less than their nearest competitor, which is paddy, rice, or wheat, or any other crop. They are climate resistant. They can survive on dry lands. they can survive on very less water, they can survive in intense heat and give you the exact amount of yield that the threshold yield or the ideal yield should be. So millet is a crop which should be promoted to fight your climate change. It is good paying to the farmers because the push that the government has given since the last 2-3 years, it is still less than the return on paddy, but it is coming up. It is replacing paddy as one of the high return crops. So this is where the PLI scheme should be there. A PLI scheme for millet based food is actually a work on improving the climate resistance of agriculture. It may be pushing up industries. Secondly, the processing of PLI is where are the climate millets grown? Millets are grown in mostly vulnerable areas, tribal areas, backward areas, dryland agriculture. So if you have a PLI scheme there, you're actually helping that tribal community. So there are some millets called Kodu and Kutki, which is the one of the most least talked about millets in the country. They are largely grown in very arid tribal areas, grown by very small farmers. So if you are bringing up a PLI scheme, A, you are helping the climate. Secondly, you are helping those vulnerable areas who have not given you a vote this time. So it is a two-way process, a very good proposal to my understanding.
Okay, what about energy sector? What sort of financial incentives the sector expects?
PLI has been a game changer for a lot of industries. Our paper has reported a lot on that. My namesake Shreya Nandi has done consistent reporting on PLI scheme. A lot of new sectors are expecting a PLI like a scheme because it has shown results across other sectors. ACC batteries or advanced chemistry cell batteries, which will play a huge role in energy storage of the country and also towards the push towards electric mobility, is expecting a PLI, a second tranche of it. Then solar manufacturing sector, which already had two tranches, is asking for more funding to come in because there are so many players who are interested to get into solar manufacturing. Our colleagues have reported there are other non-energy sectors such as toys, textile, garments, which are looking for more PLI like incentives. So I think that is expected there. You talked about other schemes as well. There was this energy transition fund which the union budget had announced, which went to the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and rightly so, because it aims at oil marketing companies shifting their fuel demand from conventional fuel to green energy fuels. And these oil marketing companies have been pursuing the finance ministry to continue with this particular disbursal so that they can widen their basket of fuel and move this country towards greener fuels.
All right, so now my last question, and this is for both of you. Will the budget 2024 be a populist or progressive?
Now, that's a difficult question, but the easy answer to this is that given the my simple understanding is given the electoral setbacks that they have, and given the fact that they have very four crucial state elections coming: Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand, as well as one more state, I don't remember it correctly, where they have to do good, because if they again do badly in these 3-4 big states, it is a very poor reflection on the leadership that the current party has. So they will be doing something to have a very populist budget so that the sections which have moved away from them, and as I said in the earlier reply, it's mostly the rural and the agriculture sector and the rural sector which has moved away from them, which is giving them a beating in this elections. So they have to bring them back into their fold if they want to win these 4 elections, because Haryana is a predominantly agricultural state. Maharashtra, very large agricultural state, and a very bad state because of multiple reasons. And Maharashtra is predominantly dominated by cash crops, and most of the cash crops they are doing very badly. Cotton, soybean, onion, fruits, everything is doing very badly. So all these things they have to look at. And as the first question said, it has an impact on climate is change. Yes, Maharashtra is facing the brunt of climate change in agriculture. So this is where they have to do something to bring back their voters who have moved away from them. And my understanding is it has to be a populist budget. But yes, I don't know whether Shreya agrees or not. Reforms will always be one of the cornerstone, because this government by nature is reformist, isn't it, Shreya?
Yes, Sanjeev, I agree. Reform has been a cornerstone for this government's announcement. But if they did analyze the electoral results, they would understand that joblessness is a big issue,
Yes, very big
and
issue.
that had an impact on the
On the votes.
decision that this democracy has taken. So I think the focus will remain on that. What we are hearing and what our colleagues have gathered from the ground, there might be a focus on manufacturing because that is the biggest job created in the country. The second being agriculture, which Sanjeev has told us in details how what kind of push is needed. Climate, definitely. I think it is high time this government understand that whatever measures will take will be offset by climate change. So I think a culmination of manufacturing plus job creation by the government sector plus push to agriculture and some kind of focus on climate change should help this government be in the sweet spot of populism and progressiveness.
All
And,
right.
and climate also is a job creator.
Of course, yes.
Climate is a job creator. Yeah.
All right. On that note, we wrap up this episode. Stay tuned to business-standard.com to keep yourself updated with more such news, views, and insights.